Good evening and welcome to this live telephone town hall. Right now we are dialing out to tens of thousands of homes across the 5th Congressional District of South Carolina. And on this telephone town hall tonight, we're going to be answering your questions live. Congressman Ralph Norman will be joining us in just a moment, but first I want to tell you how you can participate in tonight's telephone town hall meeting. You can simply press 0 if you have a question. Press 0 if you have a question at any time during the call tonight. From there, you're going to be placed in a queue, and one of our operators will assist you in asking your question live on the air to Congressman Norman. He's going to answer as many questions as he possibly can in the time that we have set aside. If you do have a question but you don't want to go live, it's very simple. Just let your operator know, and we can read the question for you, whatever's most comfortable for you. We also encourage you to hit 7 to submit your email addresses to get the very latest from Congressman Norman's office. We will add you to his email list, and you'll start to receive updates through email. We've had some new friends and neighbors join us, so I'm going to repeat part of this message. We welcome you to this live telephone town hall as we dial out to tens of thousands of homes across your congressional district in South Carolina. And on this telephone town hall tonight, Congressman Ralph Norman will be joining us. He's your congressman, and he's going to be here answering your questions. Folks, if you have a question, just hit 0 on your keypad. Hit 0 on your keypad if you've got a question. We also encourage you to hit 7 on your keypad if you'd like to submit your email address to get the very latest from the congressman. So with that, we will turn the call over to your congressman, Representative Ralph Norman. Please take it away.
Thanks so much, Ivan. Good evening, folks. This is Congressman Ralph Norman, and I really appreciate you joining me for this telephone town hall. As Ivan has mentioned, we're dialing out to thousands of constituents all over the district. I've done this a good bit, and it's just a great way to communicate with a good many people. I'm honored to represent you in the 5th Congressional Districts. We have 11 counties in our district: Cherokee, Chester, Fairfield, Kershaw, Lancaster, Lee, Union, and York counties, as well as parts of Newberry, Spartanburg, and Sumter counties. Let me start off tonight by reminding everyone that if you live in South Carolina's 5th Congressional District, and if you ever need help with the federal government, please don't hesitate to reach out. For example, some people may need help with Veterans Administration, or they may need help with the expedited passport, or they may need help with the IRS or Social Security payments. The single most important job that I have in Congress is to help people who live here at home in South Carolina. So if you or someone that you know needs help with any department or agency of the federal government, you can reach my office at 803-327-1114 or online at norman.house.gov. I'll repeat this information throughout the call tonight in case you missed it. Tonight we're going to focus on a variety of topics from Congress. As many of you know, I'm very, very upset with the direction that the Biden administration and the congressional Democrats are taking this great nation. We have a lot of important issues to cover, including record-breaking illegal immigration, rising inflation, supply chain shortages, troubles with our economy, and so many other topics. And I want to take as many questions from callers as time will permit this evening. Like I mentioned earlier, we have thousands of callers on the line right now, and I realize many of you have either the same or very similar questions. For the sake of time, we're going to consolidate questions on the same topic with 1 or 2 callers. If we don't get to all the questions before time runs out, please stay on the line to leave a voicemail, and we will get back with you. Now, let's dive into some of the most important issues that I'm dealing with in Washington. First, inflation. Everywhere we turn, prices are rising. Gas prices, grocery prices, and almost everything in between. The problem with inflation is that it's like a regressive tax on lower income families. In other words, those who are most affected by rising prices are those who can least afford these tremendous increases. Several factors have led to this inflation, but one of the largest contributors have been excessive stimulus by the federal government in response to COVID. You simply cannot pump trillions of additional dollars, and I might add borrowed dollars, into the economy and not have an inflationary backfire. Today, we have politicians in Washington who believe we need to spend trillions more and who believe we need to tax more in order to beat inflation. Friends, they're just dead wrong. They don't know what they're doing. Government needs to cut spending, reduce waste, and start paying down our $30 trillion of debt. As most of you know, I'm a fiscal conservative. I fiercely oppose unnecessary spending by this government. We cannot continue to spend new money without offsets and without a plan to get our fiscal house in order. Beating inflation is not going to be an easy job, especially now. The Federal Reserve needs to continue to carefully raise interest rates to help cool down consumer spending. Nobody likes to talk about raising interest rates for a time, but unfortunately that's part of the solution here. Meanwhile, government has got to get out of the way of businesses. And my background is business. We need to reduce regulation to do whatever we can to help businesses keep their costs low, which in turn will keep their prices low. Anything government does to increase the cost of a business, from more taxes to more regulations, ultimately, folks, it gets passed down to you, the consumer. So I'm doing everything I can in Washington to help out on this front. Next, let's move on to illegal immigration along our southern border. This is tragic, and it's sad that we have to rely on the courts to try to stop this president from dismantling what's left of our border security. Since taking office, Biden has deliberately attempted to roll back every meaningful effort to curb illegal immigration. He stopped the new border wall construction, which I might add has already been paid for during the Trump administration. He tried to end our Remain in Mexico asylum policy. He tried to reinstate Obama's catch and release into the interior of the U.S. policy. He's tried to halt the removal of those with active deportation orders from an immigration judge. And now he's going after Title 42. That's a policy that allows border officials to remove people as a COVID mitigation precaution. The results speak for themselves, folks. Last month, it gave us the highest number of migrant encounters ever recorded along the southern border, which was over 235,000 alone in April. Now think about this. Of the 234,000 migrants that our Border Patrol encountered last month, almost 118 were released into the interior of the United States. This is totally unacceptable. Of those who were turned away at the border, more than 96,000 were sent back under the Title 42 provision that I mentioned earlier. Again, that is the policy Biden wants to do away with. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that if Title 42 were not in place, many of those 96,000 would have been released into the interior of the United States. Fortunately, a United States District Court judge stepped in last week and placed a temporary, and I need to emphasize temporary, injunction on Biden's effort to let Title 42 expire. 24 states are suing the administration over this, including South Carolina. For now, at least, the judge believes that the case may likely prevail in court, and therefore ordered the injunction while things play out. Folks, I will never understand this president's position on illegal immigration. Our country is not in a position to absorb this. It's not fair to our healthcare systems. It's not fair to school systems. It's not fair to law enforcement agencies. It's not fair to social service agencies all around the nation. And it's not fair to you, the taxpayers, who are covering most of the costs for this crisis. As your congressman, I'll continue to fight for border security. I believe lawful immigration has countless benefits for our country, but that an unsecured border is both reckless and it's dangerous. And I've been to the border twice, and it's only fueling the drug cartels, and the record number of illegal drugs that are coming into this country is simply unbelievable. Next, I want to speak to the parents out there who are dealing with the current baby formula shortage. This industry was already facing the same supply chain problems that almost every other industry has been facing. Manufacturers have wrestled with delays in the raw materials, delivery of goods, and lack of available labor. Compounding the problem is that one of the largest producers of baby formula in our nation is Abbott Nutrition. Early this year, Abbott issued a massive recall following reports of contaminated formula. In fact, one of the biggest Abbott production facilities in Michigan was temporarily shut down as a result. All of this has caused a massive disruption in the supply of formula all over the country. Next, as is often the case, I believe big government has made the problem worse. The federal government sends money to the states for supplemental nutritional programs. When it comes to baby formula, most states can contract with a single manufacturer for these benefits. Unfortunately, Abbott has been the sole provider for over half of all infants under this program. So that's obviously a problem. In Congress, I'm working on to reduce tariffs on the import of formula. We're encouraging more competition so that we have more than just 3 major manufacturers of formula. And I'll also support waivers that allow supplemental nutritional benefits to be used on more than just one formula manufacturer. I'll have more information about this as time goes on and tips for parents on my website at norman.house.gov. One more quick note, because I know many of you will have questions about this. My office has received hundreds of emails and calls lately concerning the WHO, the World Health Organization, which is expected to vote on a so-called pandemic treaty. This treaty could lay the foundation to vastly expand the WHO's authority. Let's remember the World Health Organization failed to warn the world in a timely manner about COVID, and since then has failed miserably to help investigate the pandemic's origin. So anything that grants the World Health Organization more power is a major concern, and I'm against it. Early this month, the World Health Organization released a draft report that was essentially a collection of ideas and thoughts on how nations could improve pandemic response in the future. While on the surface this may seem like a good idea, the report has some unbelievably concerning elements. For example, there's language in this report calling for an expansion of the World Health Organization's global system for surveillance. It talks about technologies that could be used for digital vaccine cards and travel authorizations. There's even language in this report calling for deployment of proactive countermeasures against misinformation and social media attacks. This would only further encourage big tech, which ought to be disbanded, by the way, and hopefully we'll address some of this in the future, and news outlets to censor opinions that run counter to the World Health Organization's narrative. All of this is very concerning to me. So those who have called or emailed, yes, I have an eye on this issue, and I'll oppose this issue at every turn. We are writing letters to them, not that this administration cares about letters. They're intent on doing what they're going to do, unfortunately. You know, I've only scratched the surface on many of the important issues, but I don't want to take the time, any more time with a monologue. Instead, I want to hear what your questions that you have. But quickly, just one more reminder on how you can contact my office. If you need any assistance with the federal government, contact my Rock Hill office at 803-327-1114. Again, that's 803-327-1114. If you have any questions about legislation, federal policy, my position, or votes in Congress, you can reach my D.C. office at 202-225-5501. Again, that's 202-225-5501. You can also reach out on either office online at norman.house.gov. That's norman.house.gov. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just search for Rep. Ralph Norman. Now, I'd like to turn it over to caller questions, and for that, our fantastic call moderator will get us going. Ivan, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Congressman. And folks, thank you if you've joined us in the last few minutes. You're on a live telephone town hall with your Congressman Ralph Norman. If you've got a question, hit 0. We're going to get to those in just 1 minute. But if you've got a question, hit 0 on your keypad now. Also, very important, we have operators standing by to take down your email address so you can get added to Congressman Norman's email distribution list, his newsletter list. Please hit 7 on your keypad now to do that. Again, hit 7 now. We've got operators standing by. All right, Congressman, our first caller is Lisa. Lisa, will you tell us where you're calling from and then go ahead with your question?
Yes, I'm calling from Lake Wylie, South Carolina. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, Congressman Norman, for what you're doing for us. And my question is, with Biden's desire to give up the sovereignty of the United States to the World Health Organization, what is it that we can do to stop this? You know, is it, you know, through legislation, or, you know, what can we do?
Well, Lisa, first of all, thank you for the question. This is as concerning as, of course, everything has been so concerning. But, you know, to give up our sovereignty is unbelievable that he's even thinking about this. They're corrupt. The WHO is covered for China. They didn't investigate COVID. This administration has thwarted any investigation, because if you questioned a pandemic that's killed over 1 million Americans, they said it was racist. We got to keep the pressure on this president or whoever is running this country, you know, to stop this and not to go along with giving more power to China. I mean, get this, having more surveillance. That's what communist China does. And, you know, they've got provisions that I've read that they're not even going to consult the country that's being accused of starting a pandemic. They can just get it to the rest of the country, although I'll get it to the rest of the nations, rather. But how do we deal with it? Like we are on everything else. Get our voice up. Tell your churches. Tell your friends. To let their voices be heard. I mean, we're now in a position, if we don't speak, the left sure has spoken on so many issues, but this is concerning. To get your voice up, we're going to write the letters, and I'll publish them on our website. But you know, we don't have the votes now. We will hopefully, and we'll stop this madness in the midterms. But my God, to give up this kind of sovereignty to China is like he's deliberately selling his country out, and it's so frustrating. But we'll keep the pressure up. I know from the legislative end is very little, and we can put up all the proposals, but Pelosi's not going to allow anything. I mean, look how she's done on everything else. But we're going to give it a shot, and just let your voice be heard. I cannot imagine any American favoring this, and I cannot imagine any American not very concerned about it. Thank you for the question.
Next up, we have Paul calling in from Hendersonville. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Ralph. Paul Anderco. How are you doing?
Mr. Anderco, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. You called. I thought I'd listen tonight, and I appreciate all you're doing. I follow you from the mountains all the time. Hey, my question is, I'm in Rock Hill today, dog sitting, but my question is, today, you know, it's $4.39, $4.59 a gallon for gas. I know all of us talk how bad it is, but how do we control Brandon or get to him to stop this? I know he wants the Green Deal, but somebody's got to step up and say, hey, Joe, no more. I'm just curious, why can't Congress force him to act? Well,
unfortunately, Paul, he is completely sold out to the environments, the AOCs of the world, the extremists, the socialist left. To my knowledge, Paul, there's no battery-operated airplanes. There's no battery-operated trucks that carry our food and groceries to the stores. He stopped drilling in Alaska. He's making every regulation that he can put on the gas producers. He's blamed. Get this, blame Putin for it. He's buying from OPEC, which are 15 countries that don't like America. He's enabling the ones that hate this country. He stopped the Keystone Pipeline. You can't get a drilling permit. So, unfortunately, we're going to have gas over $6 by August if we can get gas. Now, what we can do is just, again, like I told the earlier caller, we've got to, just shout it out that gas during when Donald Trump was president was his lowest in the history. We were exporters and making money, but the only way I know to do it is, we're going to do what we can. We can put bills up, we can write letters, but until we get to control, it's going to take. We in the House, we control the purse strings. It takes a House and the Senate, but we're going to have some strong measures to stop this president from hopefully doing this. But he's just like the border. He just isn't going to do it. He's selling out this country. I hate to admit it, but he is. And it's absolutely insane that, $6 gas, which is what we're going to have, is hurting those who can least afford it. So we're going to do what we can, though. Thank you for the question.
Now we have Dan calling in from Fort Mill. Dan, go ahead. Dan, are you there?
I'm just curious what's being done.
You know what, Dan, we're having a hard time hearing you. I'm just going to read this question here for you. Dan is wondering what is being done in South Carolina regarding the dumping of illegal immigrants into the state.
Well, Dan, unfortunately, here's what's going on. I've been to the border twice. They're flying them out on the taxpayers' dollar to all over the country. They're doing it in the middle of the night in many cases, not telling you where they've been. I've reached out to law enforcement and Attorney General Alan Wilson to do whatever he can, whether it's a lawsuit or whether it's alerting all of us in South Carolina where these illegals going. And it just shows you why we got to secure the border, because we don't know who's coming in here. And I've written to mayors, if you see illegals being, coming into your community, this affects financially everybody. It's not just spending the money to fly them here. It's they're giving them cell phones. In many cases, they're giving them spending money. And he's selling the country down the river. And the only way I can tell you the reason is just for power. He's hoping for votes. As I told, when you do the math, we're looking at 8,000 a day. And if it continues, we're going to have, imagine this, the football stadium at Carolina and Clemson hold about 79,000. 4 to 5 football stadiums per month will be invading this country. It's unconstitutional, and it should not happen. This is an assault, and this is an invasion, is all I can say. But again, if you haven't listened to Mayorkas, he says the border's secure. I asked him, define security, and then define what he would classify as insecure. But he can't do it. But unfortunately, we're going to have to put up with this, I guess, for as long as this administration is in power. Thanks for the question.
Folks, if you haven't had a chance yet to hit 7 on your keypad to submit your email address, please do so now. You're going to want these newsletter updates from Congressman Norman, so please hit 7 on your keypad now. Up next, we have Janice calling in from Rock Hill. Go ahead, Janice.
Hi, Congressman Norman. Thank you so much for allowing this call. I was just wondering, here in Rock Hill and everything, the rent prices are going up so high. The Panthers Stadium thing is like probably a no-go now, I think. Is there a limit to how high they can raise rent and everything around here? Because between the other increases in cost of living, it's a lot of people that can't make ends meet at all.
Oh, yeah, and thank you, Janice, for the question. Yeah, the housing cost is unbelievable. There's a lot of reasons for that. From lumber to appliances to you name it with a house, and that's the business that I'm in. We used to do a lot of it, but we got a supply shortage. We can't get things here because of the mills hadn't been working due to COVID. It's hard to get people to work because this administration paid people not to work. There is no rent controls, and I would oppose that. But I know a lot of the companies that are building apartments have run into the same thing. In midstream, they've been hit with all the issues that I mentioned with rates, gas prices to get the product to the job site has gone up, and labor costs have gone up, and all of that. So, how long will this go? I don't know how long. This administration does not have a clue on how to solve it. What he could do is it starts with the gas prices. I mean, to start cutting the cost, you could cut the gas prices if you start drilling and opening up the Keystone Pipeline. But it's going to keep the prices. Unfortunately, going to keep going. We've got a high demand. What we've got, Janice, people are coming from New York, which I think lost 400 and some thousand people. California the same. They're losing people. They're coming south. The South Carolinas, the North Carolinas, Virginia, and other states are going to have a lot of people. I don't know where they're going to live because there is no supply chain of housing, and really apartments, from what I understand, are just at the limit. So time will tell, but it doesn't look that good as far as controlling the cost. Thank you so much for the question.
This is Jack calling in from Fort Mill.
Hello, Representative Norman. Jack Olinger in Fort Mill. Longtime supporter of yours. Appreciate everything you're doing. My question is, I'm sure you have heard about the recent drug bust at a Mexican restaurant in Greenville, South Carolina, that had food trucks going all over northern South Carolina, distributing their tacos and their drugs. And we've had a massive amount of drugs appear in our schools here in Fort Mill and Rock Hill, as well as everywhere throughout the Southeast. You addressed some of the issues related to illegal migration and the drug cartels, and apparently this was an organization that was a drug cartel that had come up from Georgia. My specific question is, what are you doing or can be done to try and prevent this rampant increase of fentanyl that is killing our children all over the place?
Well, I've co-sponsored, and Jack, thank you for the question. I've co-sponsored every bill that would increase penalties, secure the border. We've urged, the cure for it is, and it's not that complicated, get the wall completed and have designated points of entry. That's the only way you're going to stop it. This administration, and keep Title 42, which this administration is intent on letting it expire. It's the fentanyl is going to be so damaging as far as coming into the country. It's a killer. We had a group meeting in D.C. on a person that was with the Border Patrol, and most of the Border Patrol have got handcuffs on them. They can't. The morale is as low as I've ever seen it, and we've talked to a lot of them. But no, what you're going to see is what's happening in California and Texas. The drug cartels are taking over, and we're all a border state now. And I think we're putting our head in the sand if we think that it's not going to affect South Carolina. It is. It's coming here, and fentanyl, which is lethal, and if you take a small package of any sweetener and empty it out, which was the example we saw, had that been fentanyl, that was enough to kill 30 to 40,000 people. And it's being laced with other drugs, marijuana. My granddaughter found cocaine on a sidewalk in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I did hear about the Mexican restaurant in Greenville, but unfortunately, it's more of the same. And who would have thought that we'd be facing this? With life-threatening problems that drugs bring, And the hospitalizations, the deaths, unfortunately, is just going to increase. And I wish I had better news with that, but I don't. He's not going to build a wall. He wants unfettered access to this country. And I feel for the law enforcement. Imagine stopping a car of illegals with no background, with no information. It's not fair to the police. It's not fair to everything we mentioned before. But it's just going to take a change of administrations.
Thank you very much. And now we've got Sandra calling in from Sumter.
Yeah, hi. I'm a registered independent. As a matter of fact, I voted for John McCain in 2008. Come from a Navy family. My daughter's in the Navy. My oldest daughter was supposed to join. Unfortunately, she got hooked up with the drug scene and died from overdose of heroin laced with fentanyl, of course. My question is this, though. Where do you stand on Roe v. Wade? Are you...
Thank you. I hope Roe v. Wade's overturned. I'm pro-life. I always have been, and I think it is going to be overturned, and it couldn't come too quick.
Thanks, Congressman. Folks, if you've got a question, go ahead and hit 0, or you can hit 7 to submit your email address to get the latest from the Congressman. Let's see. Up next, we have Joetta calling in from Union.
Yes. Yes, this is Joetta Edwards.
Hey,
and I'd like to say a few things about the servicemen. I don't feel like that they are treated equal. They fight for our country and everything, and they also. My husband was in the service in the Navy for 4 years and reserves 2. And then he went into the National Guards down there, and been in there, I think, probably about I guess about 4 or 5 years. Well, he got hurt down there at Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Joetta, could you wrap up? I mean, go ahead with a question. I don't want to cut you off. I want as many questions as we only have a limited amount of time. What's your question?
Well, I'm trying my best to put in for me a widow's pension, and I have spoke to several people, and they're saying that it's under.
All right, let me say this, Joetta. Write this number down. Call Kathy Rose at my office, 803-327-1114. 803-327-1114. Call our office. We'll be glad to help you. And we will not just give you lip service. We actually go to work and see what we can do for you. Thank you, though.
And now we've got Parker calling in from Simpsonville.
Hey, Congressman. I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for your service. I've met you a couple times. But also wanted to ask briefly, kind of what are the efforts in Congress going on regarding the current war going on in Ukraine? I mean, I know that there was a bill that passed that you voted against, the $40 billion bill. But you know, what are some kind of efforts that more so would you support in helping our ally Ukraine?
Well, first of all, you know, this president is too little, too late. I mean, when they asked to ship the MiGs, the Jaggers, and the other things through Poland, he was just slow to react. But now we are sending weapons through, you know, Denmark and Poland. We spent $54 billion of borrowed money. We can't even fund making our nation, you know, safe with a border wall. Yet we're helping other countries. I like, you know, the fact that Ukraine, and we were all there in the when Zelensky gave, you know, the plea for help. I just wish we had done more for it. I'm not for, again, we got $54 billion in it. Unless dollars are, we've got to put America first, and we've got to, at this point, get a handle on offsets to some of this spending. And, we can't get tied up in every war around the country. So, my question was, why didn't this president, he knew about it in April of 21, and he didn't do anything. He's getting the same message from what China's doing to Taiwan. He's not going to do anything. That's his history. And if you look at the dollars already spent, Parker, $54 billion is more than the EPA and the Department of Justice combined. So it's time to get a handle on our finances. It's time to put America first, and it's time to put a stop to the invasion that's taking place on the border. Thank you for your question.
Now we have Jackie calling in from Lake Wiley. Go ahead, Jackie.
I would like to ask a question that impacts every single taxpayer in this country, and it is with great concern that I see that the department, the Internal Revenue Service Department, has been so totally mismanaged. Is there anything that Congress can do to get things straightened out with the IRS? And as a senior citizen, I speak for many of us who prefer to mail our paper returns with all of the attachments as we have.
Jackie, what I would say is we can walk you through. I mean, a lot of people have expressed the same frustration that you have. They want to mail it in through paper. The IRS is wanting the money quicker, and they're going through it electronically. Call my office. Again, talk to Kathy Rose at 803-327-1114. I don't have any hopes of getting it straightened out. We can make improvements, but on your specific issues, call our office and let us try to address them and knock out your problems or issues that you're having one by one. Thank you for your question.
This is Mary calling in from Union.
Yes, Congressman, my husband and I are huge fans of yours, and we support you through all that you do. But right now, with the liberals pushing through and they're looking to gain more seats, they're pushing this Green New Deal where they want hybrid cars or they want electric cars. I can't afford a new car. I can't afford to buy somebody that's on government assistance a new car. So who's going to pay for all these new electric cars?
Well, it's going to cost $93 trillion if the Green New Deal works out. I mean, they think that everybody ought to have solar panels on their and windmills and batteries to operate their cars. I just haven't seen a battery-operated airplane or battery-operated 18-wheelers. Bottom line, taxpayers are going to pay for it. And they've completely sold out. They're breaking the country by doing this. If you want to, have one thing that could help the every American living in America today is start producing oil and natural gas, and they're just not going to do that. He did all the damage when he first got into office, and he's tone deaf to being independent again with our gas and oil. So the Green New Deal, I mean, you would not believe what some of the things that they want the government. And by the way, government is their God. For the Democrats, government is their God. They want government to do everything. I've sat through hearings where they want to go retrofit buildings so that it's completely off the grid. I mean, it's crazy. But bottom line, Mary, we're going to pay for it. Taxpayers are, unless we boot them out of office, which the midterms couldn't come quick enough, and we need needs somebody in the executive branch who's got a handle on the real world. This president does not. Thank you for your question.
All right, Congressman, we have Justin calling in from Sumter. Go ahead, Justin.
So, Mr. Congressman, I have two questions. You know how a lot of places are hiring now. They pay pretty decent, and the supply chain issue is a big deal, but it's like no one wants to work anymore because it's like so much free money they're giving out, and it's like some people do want to work, but it hurts everybody who does want to work because it's like no one wants to work because there's so much government incentive not to work. You got extra food stamp, extra WIC. You get just more benefits if you don't work. And the average working class dude is just feeling like, if I'm working, why am I paying for people who don't want to work to not go to work? How are you going to?
Well, you're exactly right, Justin. And paying people not to work, they're doing it with your money and my money. They keep, they keep extending the payments for these for people not to work, and it's unfair. We don't have the money to do it, but it's just like everything else. They want to pay student loans off. Why not just pay, if they're going to do that, pay house payments, pay cars? The government works for us. We don't work for the government. But with who's in control today, they want the government to control everything. Socialism is what they're doing, and is what they're pushing. And the only thing I can say is it's going to take a completely 180-degree shift away from what this administration is doing. And, when you go to a fast food and the door is locked, you can only go to the window, as I did. And I said, why are you locking the door? They had two people in there, one cooking and one taking on the cash register. You can't stay in business long that way. It's insane. So I would urge you to get loud and tell, we got to get our voice back. The left has drowned the right out, and we got to stop that. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Please keep them coming. If you've got a question, hit 0. Also, our operators are standing by to take your email address if you want to get that, so you can get newsletters and important updates from Congressman Norman from his office in the district, and also from Washington, D.C. Just hit 7 on your keypad now. Hit 7 now. Operator standing by. Congressman, we're going to take Jerry from Lake Wiley. Go ahead, Jerry.
Congressman, good evening, and thank you very much for doing this. I'm your fan. I appreciate everything that you do for us and the American people, especially the people here in South Carolina. And to you and your family, God bless.
Thank you, Jerry.
Absolutely, sir. I'm with you all the way on everything that you stand for, but I don't know your stance. You have Congressman Ron Paul and Senator Rand Paul. They both are really against the Fed, and constitutionally, there's some questions there. What is your stance on the Federal Reserve?
Great question, Jerry. One, they need to audit the Fed and publish the results. The Fed's job is to control inflation, set interest rates, keep unemployment low. They're necessary, but they have way overextended their powers. They control everything in this government, it seems like. But like every other agency, Jerry, they need oversight. They need people who call balls and strikes with them. And, but the audit would be the first thing that needs to be done. And I know Rand Paul, and I think both his father and Rand call for this, but it's like everything else, it kind of gets pushed to the back. But it's in today's world, the Federal Reserve has kept inflation high, and I don't know what we're going to do to stop it, other than to get a report on all the numbers with it, and then publish it to the American people. And they need oversight, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman, while we've got a minute, will you maybe take a moment and share your social media and website information so folks have that? If they want to grab a pen, now's the right time to do it.
Yeah, folks, y'all can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Rep Ralph Norman, and you visit my website and sign up for email updates at norman.house.gov.
All right, thank you so much. Now we've got Ross calling in. Ross, why don't you tell us where you're calling from, and then go ahead with your question.
Hi, Congressman. This is Ross, and I'm calling from Lancaster, South Carolina. And first of all, I would say, like several others have said, thank you very much for reaching out to your constituents and communicating. But I have to say to you, as I sit here and listen, and the frustration that clearly you show, and I know all of your cohorts do, and I'm thinking about all of the things that get kicked down the road by 535 people in Congress. Immigration, climate control, New Deal, inflation, gas prices, and so on. When you look at immigration, just take this one. Here's my question. If this group of congressmen, for the last several decades, and some of them clearly have come and gone, are not able to solve the problem where we have somewhere between 11 and 21 million people that didn't come here legally, if you can't get it done, do you support term limits?
Great question, Ross. Absolutely. We've got a bill up that's for House members on the federal level, 3 terms, 6 years. Senate, 2 terms, 12 years. Now, I've had trouble, and we're gaining. I think we've got right at 100 co-sponsors of this, and you know, it's for as an example, and this isn't Republican or Democrat. There is a time that you ought to serve, and the founders intended for you to go back home and live under some of these laws that you made. Now, I've put up bills before, and I hadn't been there, but 5. I was elected in 2017. But just to get it on the ballot so that politicians could see what the public, what the taxpayers say about term limits. Now you get the same response. Well, every 2 years you have that is term limits. No, that's not the fact. I mean, that's not the reality because of what it costs to run for office, and a lot of good people who could add so much to this country don't have a shot. But for, as the case of Joe Biden, to be there 50 years. No. When you're a pilot, I think you have to stop at 65. There's a time and place that you need to go home and, again, live under some of these laws. I fully support term limits, and if I just want to get it to the people and make politicians have to take a position on it. All of them say it, but they don't really believe it. But and is it magic for 3 terms for the House members? If it's 8 years, I'll consider anything, but 50 years, and I would take this position, Ross, even for the job that I do in Congress, being there over 12 to 15 years should be the max. But I'm putting up 6 years total, 3 terms and 2 for the Senate, and then negotiate from there. You never start out with what you will end up with. But I just think there's got to be something to get these people out of office. So the answer to your question, absolutely. And I got a bill that we're gradually gaining traction on, and I'm going to put it before the politicians to either sign up or not. Thanks for the question.
All right, Congressman Norman, we've got a question here from Jessica in Rock Hill, and she asked me to read the question. She says, what can be done about the Ministry of Truth? I don't think it's going away, and I think they're trying to hide it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, George Orwell wrote about this. I think it was wrote 1984, and I think it was 1949 about this issue. I'm very concerned about it. Thankfully, they're disbanding it, but we'll keep the pressure up to ensure that it stays that way. It was the DHS Disinformation Board that they were trying to get started, this administration, which is basically just a freedom of speech. So, hopefully it'll be disbanded and it will continue to be. Let me just say,
thank you, Congressman.
No, go ahead, Ivan.
I was just going to say we're unfortunately at our allotted time, so I'll turn it over to you to bring us to the finish line with some closing remarks.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody that took the time to join us. I'm going to do this more and more because it's a great way to get the message out. Folks, you know, the main thing that I would suggest is we got to keep fighting. We've got to get our voice back. We've got to let our voices be heard at the school board level, at the city council, county council. I think the one good thing about the ray of hope of people are going to be involved. They now see votes matter. Who we put in office matters. And it just doesn't have to be this way. But the time to get active is now. Get behind your candidates that you think will preserve freedom. And that's what we're talking about. And I would say if you've never been involved, everybody's got a talent, and put it to work. Use it, because our democracy, our republic is at stake. And if we lose America, where do we go? Which I think we all know the answer. We got the greatest country in the world. Thank you for each of you for your time. God bless you, and we'll see you in the future.